guys, what's up? This is Mystical along with Chaotic Agent
What's up?
and Bliznade,
What's up?
and we're going to be talking about the Steam OS that's getting ready to come out. If you guys haven't heard yet, Valve released, they had a press release and they released a statement that they were releasing a new operating system specifically designed for living rooms. To kind of just give you a breakthrough of the basics of what it's about, and then we'll kind of dive into it. I'm gonna let Bliznade kind of explain to you the basics of the Steam operating system.
So, SteamOS is basically an entire operating system. If you've ever used Steam, then there's a button on the top right that's called Big Picture. And what it seems like is it's going to be based off of this Big Picture mode. And it's going to be a full desktop OS, so you can boot into it. You don't have to use Windows. You only have to have Windows installed. You can just boot into SteamOS.
Well, and one of the nice things is it is based off of the Linux operating system, which I don't know if you mentioned that or not or whatever. And I think that's going to be a really nice aspect of it. Except for it does kind of scare me in terms of, we were talking about this a little earlier, is do you think that we'll see an issue with because right now a lot of games aren't ported over to the Linux system. Do you think this is going to be something we're going to, see Valve struggle with as they release this?
Well, there's already a lot of games ported over to Linux as we speak. I mean, they started support last year. There's a lot of developers that have gotten onto it, and even some now that are still saying that they're going to start porting their games over and making new games for it. So especially with the fact that this is going to be a open operating system and free to use to anybody, I think that there's going to be a lot of developers that are going to hop onto it.
Yeah, that's all good points, and I mean that's definitely something that I think we should touch on, and that is that the nice thing about the Steam OS is that it is going to be available to everybody for free to download. And that means you don't have to buy a specific manufacturer's brand of computer or anything like that in order to run this system. While there might be Steam OS boxes that come out that are sold, like console type systems by, companies like Hewlett Packard or Dell or whoever may release them, the nice thing is you can take any basic existing computer that you have and run that operating system on that, free of charge to download from their website. I think another nice feature is that, they say you don't have to have the best computer in the world to install this on, because you can also stream games from your current gaming PC that might be in an office or your bedroom or whatever directly to this box, allowing you to, play games at the higher resolutions and stuff, but allow you to play games that you might want to play with a controller or whatnot in your living room, but still enjoy those graphics from a high-end graphic, card PC that you might have in your office.
Yep. Another nice detail is that they've already partnered with NVIDIA, we know for sure, and we're going to assume they have something going on with AMD. And they've already written drivers and everything for the SteamOS itself, and it's supposed to be very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very well optimized for the operating system, even more so than Windows, it seems like. So that'll be good for people with lower hardware level PCs, that they'll be able to play games that they wouldn't be able to play on, say, a Windows OS or a Mac OS with their current setup, but
Right.
because of the optimization, they'd be able to play something even better, or at nicer quality at least.
Right, and I definitely think, that's one of the benefits consoles has kind of always had over PCs in terms of, with a lot of times when developers are working with a console system, they get to work directly. I mean, it's the same hardware, has been the same hardware for years, and they have hardware level access when they're programming these games and stuff to be able to develop the games directly for the consoles. They know exactly what programming language they're using, what operating system, which I know a console doesn't have an operating system, but and speaking, in terms of this, what operating system that console's running, they're able to develop the game and use every single resource directly for that. And I think this will allow that a lot on the Steam OS as well.
The other thing I think is nice is with all this talk about AMD, and they're having their new API that they won't need DirectX or anything to run a game off of, that they'll be able to have hardware level communication between the hardware and the software in the games. I think that's something that SteamOS is definitely going to look into as well, and that'll make it even better for anybody who plays on a Steam machine, because you're going to get that much more out of it using these new APIs.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be a huge plus for the systems. One thing, to kind of break it down, because I know, for those of you that might be brand new to SteamOS, there's basically three parts to the launch that Valve is doing with Steam. and that and with in regards to the living room, and that is the first one being the Steam OS. The second one being basically Steam built machines, machines specifically built to have you know that developers can release that already have the software and stuff on it that you're able just to go to the store, buy, bring home, plug it all up, and you're ready to go. Okay, and then you have the third section of the launch of Steam, which is the Steam controller, which is really nifty as well. There's a lot of great features about that. Which Jacob probably knows. Blizzny probably knows most of the details of that. So I'm going to let him kind of, as you can see here on the screen, the page for the Steam controller. I'm going to kind of let him walk you through, the specifications of the controller, what it is and stuff, and then we'll kind of jump into some of the questions we might have, like, is this really going to compete with consoles and stuff like that, and we'll get Chaotic involved, with those kind of questions and stuff.
So the Steam controller, just like the operating system itself, is basically built to be tinkered with. I think there's a picture down here where they show you all the different sections of the controller that you can hack, or they call it openness, which is just their idea of everything being able to be hackable. But as of right now, it seems like what the basic design they're going for is kind of like a console controller where you have an Xbox where you have these two trackpads that take place of the joysticks on a normal controller. And these two trackpads, they said, has a DPI similar to that of desktop mice, which just gives you really, really fine control over what you're doing. And you can see there's these two rings because these actually have haptic feedback, but it's not just normal haptic feedback. They have, let me see.
Well, kind of explain what is haptic feedback for those that might not be familiar with the term.
Just like on on your cell phone, or at least Android phones, and I think Windows OS you can too. But you press on a button and it gives you a little bit of vibration feedback, just like on the Xbox controller now. Just any kind of vibration is really haptic feedback. But what they have is extremely advanced. On here it talks about how most controllers these days aren't as advanced as they could be, and theirs is super precise. And I mean, these two little trackpads on there are able to emulate different textures, so you can rub your finger over it and it feels like there's a button there. Same thing with they can even output audio. That's how I don't even know the word to explain.
Basically, from what I understand, they're basically using what tends to be they're basically magnets under there, from what I understand, and with the feedback and stuff, they basically put out sound and vibration, like you were saying. And I know a couple things they said with having the trackpads instead of the joysticks, which you were mentioned on it basically increases the DPI. The reason this is important compared to traditional console controllers is when you're playing games like FPSs, first-person shooters, a lot of times using a controller, you lose the precision that you're able to gain when you're playing with a mouse and keyboard on a PC. And their hopes is that with this new controller, while it might not be the same as a mouse and a keyboard, you get that same precision out of it, using those trackpads. And with the haptic feedback, you're also allowing it to, even though they're flat trackpads and stuff, you get the feel of that you're pressing a button. It feels comfortable, feels normal. And also, like you said, from what I've read, they have the ability to be able to use those magnets as speakers as well to actually output a sound or something, which could be, something as simple as if you push on it, it makes a noise like you're pushing a button or something like that, which I think is a really neat idea. And I definitely think, joysticks, while they're easy to use, I think trackpads would be easy to use as well once you use them. And I think it's going to give you a lot better control over the traditional controller. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most people say that there's been a couple of people that have came out that have actually tried it, and they said it's pretty similar to current console controllers, but you just get a lot more precision because you have that higher DPI and there's not as much give
right
in what you're doing.
Now, the nice thing about it also with the SteamOS and the Steam boxes and stuff is that you are still able to basically use any other type of controllers you want, whether it's an Xbox 360 controller, a PlayStation, a Wii controller, whatever, or just some other gamepad that you've bought from a store or whatever. You're still able to use all of those different controllers on the system. It's just this one's designed specifically to allow you to basically do everything you want to do very easily with the system, including things like browse web pages, use the different apps that are going to come on it, because they have, confirmed, while they haven't confirmed who, but they have confirmed that there will be apps that allow you to do pretty much what you can do on the Xbox and PlayStation and Wii and stuff now, and that is use apps like Netflix, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Hulu, Hulu Plus, things like that and stuff you're going to be able to use on this as well. And again, you do have to remember this is a full, even though it's Steam operating system, it is a full operating system of Linux, which allows you to, probably even install other third-party apps that you're going to be able to install and stuff just to run on Linux, so you're able to use basically your TV as a huge monitor for a computer if you wanted.
Yeah. The other nice thing about that controller is that in the center between those two trackpads, there's also another touchscreen you can use, just like the PS4 controller has. And that one I would assume would be used more so for web browsing and stuff, controlling a mouse.
Right.
Versus.
Well, and I know it can also be used as in a game or something as 4 separate buttons, correctly? Right now, you're looking at now. This is just real quick. Stay here on the Portal 2 bindings. But if I remember right, this is 16-button controller, correct?
Yeah.
And you can kind of see here from this picture that Jacob's on the Portal 2 bindings, all the different, where all the different buttons are. You have 2 triggers on each side, just like your normal controllers, your Xbox 360, your PlayStation. You have, the right trigger, left trigger, and you have the right bumper and the left bumper. And then you have the 4 buttons. And the way they did this is they actually split it up on a traditional controller. All your buttons are to the right of your right thumbstick. On this one, they put 2 on the right side of the controller, 2 on the left side, which you can actually see here and here. I'm pointing with my mouse. And then you do have this touchscreen that Jacob was talking about in the middle that can also be split into like 4 separate buttons, they were saying. Kind of like you can see here, they have it set as quick save, quick load, screenshot, chat message, and all that. And then I believe, isn't there a picture on here, Jacob, of the back of the controller that shows the buttons on there? Isn't there 2 buttons on the back of the controller as well?
You scroll down a little. No, it's up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here you have the. Were you on it there? I missed it if you were.
There is a picture right here that shows the back.
Yeah,
right there.
And I believe
That's
those 2 gray areas, I believe those are 2 buttons as well, correct? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And then, so that's basically the Steam controller. That was their O+O that they were talking about. Okay, so now, we kind of gave you the specs and stuff of it. There's not a ton of information out now. But now what we kind of want to talk about is your guys' thoughts on, is this really a console killer? Do you see this something, as really taken off in terms of replacing a console? Or do you think this is just going to be something that is an addition to current game and setups in the way that they are? I guess we'll start with Mike and kind of get his input on this.
Like we talked about earlier, I feel like if it's not a console killer, it's definitely going to make consoles reinvent their whole systems and go to this sort of customizable, adding modifications, upgrading hardware, and things like that, versus the traditional, this is what you get, now you get to wait 8 years until we decide what else you get better. Because I feel like a lot of people who don't like PC gaming because of all the things that go into it, this is going to be more familiar to console users, to get them to switch over basically to PC gaming, which is it's going to kill the consoles unless they adapt and become more like this new operating system.
Right. And what about you, Jacob? What do you think about the debate of, this is going to be something that we're going to see change the console market in the future?
Yeah, we've already seen there's been a couple leaks of people and Microsoft streaming Xbox games to PCs and Windows phones, and I think that Steam and their new operating system had a part in that. I think that it's at least a little bit scary for the console makers, for Sony and Microsoft, because there's going to be a new person in the town, and it's really going to be a threat. Already there's this huge PC gaming community and all these people that really know what they're doing, especially people playing on Linux, which is what the SteamOS is going to be based off of. And they're going to have pretty much all the freedom in the world to tinker with this stuff. And they're going to make some pretty nice stuff out of it, I think. And it's going to be pretty hard for Microsoft and Sony to compete if they don't change their ways and open up a little bit.
Yeah, and I agree. I definitely think that we're going to see a lot of change happen with consoles in the next generation. Not this one that's coming out, the Xbox One and the PS4, but in future generations of the console. I definitely think we're going to see a difference, exactly like Mike was saying. They're going to have to come up with a way that instead of releasing a new system every 8 years, that you're able to swap out equipment or things like that. So I almost think it's going to come down to more of, you're going to have all these different PC machines in your living room that people have hooked up to their TVs, and you're going to have these different, whether they're operating systems or some type of a program or whatever it might be. I think you're going to see, Microsoft and Sony and them kind of, go that route where they basically are giving you a mini PC when you buy a console instead of an actual console.
I mean, that's what they just did now with the Xbox One and PS4. I mean, it's basically PC hardware with their operating systems laid over that you can't really mess with other than through them. I mean, it's using the same architecture that PC games use now. So they're really pushing towards that direction anyways, which is good for the PC gaming community for sure.
Right.
I definitely... Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to expand on, like I said earlier, about, I mean, if you look at how much more you can do on consoles now because people want more out of their consoles already. I mean, you can stream Netflix and do all this other stuff, and even they're adding even more stuff on the Xbox Ones and PS4s than were even on the PS2 or 3s and Xbox 360s. But I mean, if you look at how far they've already had to come just to compete with PC gaming, and now you're going to throw this entire operating system on top of that and basically give PC gamers a form of a console for themselves, but still be able to do everything they want to do with PC gaming. I mean, they're gonna definitely have to step up their game.
Right, I agree entirely, and I think it's something that's definitely going to be interesting to see how it unfolds in the upcoming years. But I mean, the bottom line is more and more people are becoming tech savvy. More and more people are using computers every day of their lives, and more people are going to be, using the PC in their living room. So I mean, I think it's only obvious, why it's kind of like, if you remember back, when cell phones, when you just made calls on them and stuff, and a couple years ago, what's been 7-8 years since the first iPhone came out. I mean, before then you had, your cell phone, you had a GPS, you walked around with an iPod, you had an MP3 player or whatever that you walked around with. You had all these different devices, and then it became to the point where, the smartphones came out and they replaced all that. You had the, and then you had Android come out and stuff, and they replaced your GPS. I don't know. I know myself personally. I use my phone for just about everything. My phone is my GPS. It's my MP3 player. It's also my phone. It does all these different tasks in one unit. And I think that's what we're going to see happen with the consoles and with the PCs, is that over time, as more and more people are using a PC, why buy a computer? Most people have a computer at their house anyways now. Plus they're buying a console. Why buy a PC and a console when you can just buy one device that's going to be able to do everything that you need it to do? Including everything from all your productivity to all of your gaming to, just everything that you would do in a normal day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes the other thing too about SteamOS is they definitely talk about dual booting and things like that with it, because I don't think it's going to be able to do everything that a PC can do right now, right out of the box. I think that with time and development and stuff, things like Office and other apps like that will come, but at least for now, when it first comes out, I think it's going to be mainly just a gaming system with web browsing capabilities and a little bit more.
So you don't think you'd be able to boot directly into the Linux mode and just use the computer as a Linux operating system computer and install normal Linux programs and stuff, like Office and stuff?
They do talk about it being open, but I'm not sure how open that is. It would be cool if they could do that, just add whatever Linux program you want on there, but there's so many different branches off of Linux already, and I honestly don't know how they intertwine or anything like that, but I think that you would have to have a little bit of know-how if you wanted to do something like that. And I think that you could, like I said, they said it'd be open. You could take it, add and remove whatever you wanted, but I'm not sure exactly how easy that would be for the end user or the consumer in the market right now.
Right, and I know they haven't really confirmed. I mean, they are pretty... they have said in several different areas, the controller, the operating system, that, I think they even call it on their webpage hackability, that basically it's open. I know on the one thing they call it openness, but they don't really define what openness is. They don't say it's open source. They don't say it's, completely this or that. But they use a term that, is kind of loose-based in terms of what exactly is it going to do. So I do think we have to wait to kind of see that. But I guess I was kind of under the assumption that being a Linux, based off the Linux operating system, And even if not available directly at launch, they have said that even the operating system is going to be completely available to be hacked, basically, and pieced together and done with whatever you want. So I would think we would see, that transfer over in terms of somebody being able to just have it in Linux mode to where you can install all types of Linux programs that are out there. And I know you also mentioned that, you'd definitely be able to set it up to be able to dual boot, meaning that you could set up 2 separate operating systems on it, like SteamOS and Windows, and you can, when you turn on your computer, boot to either one of those that you want to boot to.
I mean, the nice thing about this is, on top of the fact it's going to be an operating system in its own, it's free. So you don't have to buy an operating system now when you're building a gaming PC. I mean, for people like you and me that don't really need all the other desktop apps, that's going to be amazing. And on top of that, if you really do need anything, like any desktop apps or anything like that, Ubuntu has so much you can do, and you can just dual boot into Ubuntu and just have a free, that's $100 you save on building a PC. Which, I mean, again, to the end user, if someone's selling a PC, or I remember you used to sell a couple PCs to people, and you won't have to pay that extra $100 for Windows. It'd just be that much easier and cheaper for everybody.
Right. I definitely think it brings the cost down, and I think that's definitely going to be something that we see, even with further. I mean, we're already seeing even hard drives now. I mean, even 1 terabyte hard drives, you're able to find those nowadays online. I was looking the other day for, $60, $70. Whereas, I think the last time, it was over $100 I spent on one. So any way that you can get, because that's kind of, to me, always the one thing that consoles beat the PC on, is that, a console typically is pretty cheap. I mean, the Xbox 360, I didn't buy it when it first came out, but I bought it when they introduced the slim model, the Xbox 360S, and it was $199 at the store. Whereas a PC, you're going to, at least probably be spending, $400 or $500 for a decent PC that's going to play most games at 720p at the highest settings. So I definitely, so that's kind of my next question, and we'll shoot it over to Mike and kind of get his thought on it first, is, do you think that the cost of PC gaming versus console gaming is going to scare a lot of people away, or do you think it's something that's going to be adapt, or do you think it's something that's worth it versus a console gaming?
I mean, I don't think it'll scare anybody away who already PC games as it is. The only people who it might delay from switching over would be people that are already like diehard console fans because of that fact. But I feel like still the upgradability features that will come about because of it are still going to far outweigh the extra startup costs. Because I mean, if you think about it, yeah, a new console may only cost $300 or $400 or whatever new, whereas building a fresh PC may cost you $600 if you want a real, fairly decent one that can run everything that at least the consoles will do, if not better. But then 5 years down the line or whatever, when that new console comes out, you may only have to upgrade your graphics card or buy a new hard drive or something. I mean, that's only a couple $100, and you still are going to be outperforming what the new consoles are doing. So in the end game, you're saving a lot more money by building a PC versus going to the consoles every time they update them and buying a new one and then you still have to wait until they come out with a new one. Otherwise, you're just stuck with the same graphics that they had years and years ago. And as we all know, especially, the more technology that comes out, the faster technology evolves and gets better and better. So this 8-year gap between console systems, it's definitely going to deter a lot of people versus being able to build a PC, despite the cost difference. Right. And also, like you said earlier, most people already own a PC. Not a lot of people nowadays have no PC that they use. So even if you bought like a cheap laptop for a couple $100 and then you bought your console, you're still spending the same amount of money total to have a crappier computer and a worse system versus building a beastly gaming PC and having the best of both worlds in one for the same price.
Right. And what are your thoughts on the price comparison versus a console and a PC, Jake?
My thing is, most people already have desktops right now. And to upgrade a desktop to a gaming PC, really all you need to do is buy a graphics card. Graphics cards, you can get a decent one that'll run all the games that Xboxes run at nicer quality for $150, $200. And that's a console right there. I think it's the other thing too is with PC games and especially Steam and Steam OS. I mean, Steam has sales. I think they have twice a year or once a year they have their big Steam sale, and their prices for everything is just crazily cheap. On top of that, there are so many PC games out already that are free to play. I think that I mean, even when we started playing PC games originally these last couple of years, I mean, it was probably 6 or 8 months before we even decided that we wanted to spend money on a game because you don't have to because most games are free.
Right,
So I
and
think that
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, versus spending $60 on AAA titles on the Xbox and PS4, you can get that game. Even AAA titles are cheaper on PC. $50 at launch, or prices drop pretty quickly. You can find them on sale. I mean, it's really cheaper in the long run.
Well, and I definitely agree. I mean, that was kind of going to be one of my main big points is that, I think the initial cost scares people, but they don't realize the savings that actually comes from PC gaming versus console gaming. I mean, like you said, Steam has several sales throughout the year, including their big sale that you were talking about. Plus, they also have their summer sale they do, and I mean, like you said, AAA titles. I mean, games like Borderlands 2. I remember when I bought that game at launch for $60 on the 360, and I played the heck out of it. And I kept trying to talk you into getting it. And whenever we would go, even to buy it pre-owned, to look at like GameStop or something. I mean, you were talking pre-owned. The game was still running 40, $45. And at the time, then we found it on PC. Steam had a sale or whatever, and I think it was. Well, actually, it wasn't on Steam. We found it on another website that gives you a Steam key, but it was like, I think, if I remember correctly, around in between like 15 and $20 for the game when it was still selling for all the consoles and everything used for like I said, $40. And that's just the price. I mean, even the games like Tomb Raider and stuff that when they come out, I think it released on the PC for $50, where it was $60 on all the consoles. And very quickly, prices tend to drop on the PC. And so what you pay for, AAA, like even Call of Duty, Black Ops 2 is still, I think, for at least $40 pre-owned, $50 brand new. Whereas, even during their summer sale, I think it was on sale for like $22.50 or $25 during this Steam summer sale. So you save a lot of money on the sales that you get through Steam and through different gaming websites. And also, as Jacob mentioned, there is a ton of free-to-play games. Every type you can think of, whether it's real-time strategy games, first-person shooters, RPGs, whatever type of game you want. There's free-to-play games out there that let you do that. And I mean that's instant savings. You're talking about even when they first release, they're free-to-play. So you're talking about $40 to $60 of savings per game that you're not paying for a game if you don't want to. But there are still a lot of, or most of the AAA titles still come to the PC, and you're able to purchase them if you want to, which I think is a really nice feature.
hmm Yeah. Then on top of that, think about the Humble Bundle.
Oh,
Maybe
right.
what did we spend $5 a couple weeks ago, and we got like 6 or 7 games,
I think it was
and they
like
were AAA titles.
like $200 worth of EA games.
Yeah,
including,
we
like,
went to
Battlefield
GameStop
3.
to find out.
Yeah, we searched, and it was, and even used, it was like $150 or whatever. But I think, it included like Battlefield 3, The Sims, a bunch of different games.
Two. Oh, 3. Yeah, you're right.
It was Battlefield 3, and it had Crisis 2, and I forget what else, but a lot of different AAA title, EA games, for $5. You just can't find those deals on consoles.
Not to mention when you buy those EA games, you then have to buy the online codes anyway, so you're better off usually buying them new even after they've been released. So,
Right. Yeah,
and you didn't have to do that when we got it through the Humble Bundle. So that's another $10-15 you save each game.
Well, I definitely think, I'm excited for the SteamOS, and I can't wait for it to come out. I definitely think it's going to be a huge step forward in the, upcoming development of consoles and gaming systems, especially when it comes to gaming in the living room. Because there's plenty of times, I know even, me and Jacob's had this, me and Bliznate has had this conversation several times where it's like sometimes you just want to play a game where you just want to chill back, relax. You don't really want to use a mouse and keyboard. You just want to kind of, sit in the recliner or sit on the couch, sprawl out, play with a controller. And I know now, my gaming PC is set up in my office. I have a PC connected to the main TV, but it's not a gaming PC. And even if I use a controller, I'm sitting in an office chair as I am now. And to me, it's just not the same as when you can just, crash on the couch and throw in a game and play it. So I definitely think this is going to get us that one step closer to being able to do that if you're a PC gamer and prefer PC gaming. And those that do console or play mostly console, I think this will be a nice way for them to kind of get into PC gaming. And I think once they do, they'll realize how much, better, and I don't mean to start a console versus PC war, but how much better PC gaming really is. Because, yeah, we play console games, we play PC games. Honestly, PC games is where it's at. PC gaming is where it's at. And I just don't see that changing in the future. I think it's only going to become more apparent to everybody that plays video games. So any other comments any of you guys want to kind of throw in as we kind of wrap this thing up, or any other things you want to mention about the Steam OS, any of the Steam boxes or the controller or anything like that?
I was just going to throw in that the another nice thing that console gamers always bring up is the ability to use the controller on the or not being able to use the controller on the PC, where it's so easy just to use the controller on the console. And I mean, especially with SteamOS, you could already do it with the Xbox controller on PC, but especially with SteamOS, they have their own controller to bring into the game, and it seems like it's going to be a lot better than even what the new consoles have in store. So
yeah,
I'm excited for that too.
I mean, I'm excited. If for anything else, I mean, even if the SteamOS and stuff fails, I'm excited to get my hand on one of these controllers. And just to have it, even if SteamOS fails, at least then I have it to play with normal, video games that come out in the future on the PC or whatever.
That'd be legit.
Mike, any other comments from you? Anything else you want to touch on, or questions, or anything like that? Or
no, I'm good.
all right, guys. So there you have it. The crickets in the background signal that it's time for us to wrap this up. All right, so we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let us know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this system is just going to, blow open the field of console gaming versus PC gaming, and is going to make it more realistic for more people to get into console or PC gaming? Do you think this is just going to be another add-on? What do you think about the Steam, controller? Do you think this, do you like the design of it? I mean, do you feel, especially console gamers, I'd love to hear from console gamers. I mean, what do you think about losing joysticks? I mean, do you think that's going to be something kind of crazy? What do you think of the design, the layout of the controller specifically? What do you think about, the cost? What kind of holds you back from trying out the PC gaming? Just, anything we talked about, anything about SteamOS, definitely throw it in the comments. Let's get a conversation going about this. Let us know what you think. We check the comments every day. We respond as much as we're able to. So we'd love to hear from you guys and what you guys think about it. All right, guys. So that's it for this video. We hope you guys, learned kind of a little bit about what the SteamOS is, why we think it's going to be awesome, why we think it's going to be revolutionary when it comes to the world of video gaming, and we hope that you're as excited as we are to check this thing out when it releases. All right, guys, until next time, we'll see you guys in the game.
So, are you guys ready?
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Hey, what up, guys? How you guys doing?
All right, stop now.
Listen, introduce us, though. You gotta introduce us.
I'm going to.
Okay.
All right, we're going to start in 3
Got
seconds.
you.
2, 1. Wait, am I supposed to talk while you're doing that, or should I
No,
wait?
you wait till it's over.
All right. Hey guys. What's up? Listen, I can't do it because, listen, here's the thing. With that sound, all of us look retarded just sitting here while we're waiting for it to start.
Exactly, that's the fucking point.
Seriously, let's go.
Okay, go. Hey guys, what's up? This time it wasn't me. This time it was you guys.
It was already Jake. You couldn't even get to the fucking drum roll. What the hell, man?
That's because you were doing it too.
I know, but fuck.
Okay.
All right,
We'll
you
both
do the
do
drum
it.
roll. No, you do the drum roll. We'll both do the drama. Ready?
All right.
Hey guys, what's up?
You suck.
God damn it!
You suck. You suck.
Fuck! It was everyone every other time, and then it was me. Alright.
Oh, dear God.
We need to stop laughing first.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Mystical along with Chaotic Agent and Bliznade. Why?
You're such
I
a
finally did
dumbass.
it.
Why?
I finally had
all
it going,
Jake.
and you guys gotta.
Listen,
That
you gotta
was
introduce
Jake.
us so we can say hi.
I just said with Chaotic Agent.
So you gotta be like
Bliznade.
chaotic agent, so we know which one's who. You say, I'm Mr. Cal. This is chaotic agent, and this is Bliznade.
All right.
Ready, set, go.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Mystical with thecupofdeath.com along with Chaotic Agent
What's up?
and Bliznade.
So,
That's the only reason you wanted me to introduce you. That's the only reason. And I fell for
You
it.
almost do, you
And
know
I
it.
fell for it.
listen, and I tried to do the cricket for your name. But it wouldn't work. I don't know why it didn't work.